Hello and welcome to Food for You and the Planet, a fresh new podcast that explores healthy and environmentally sustainable food solutions. This podcast is brought to you by Healthy Plan Eat Online Farmers Market. I'm Dr. Rosemary Ostfeld and I'm your host. Together, we'll hear from leaders in environmental science, agriculture, medicine, nutrition, entrepreneurship, and more. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to hear all the latest in healthy and sustainable food with food for you and the planet. Today's episode features Karen Mapusua, president of IFOAM Organics International. Karen is president of IFOAM Organics International and is the director of the Land Resources Division of the Pacific Community based in Fiji, providing scientific and technical support in agricultural development, serving 22 Pacific states. She has a background in NGO capacity building and management and has worked in rural development in the Pacific Islands region for close to 20 years, with a focus on organic agriculture as a path to social and economic development. She co-founded the Pacific Organic and Ethical Trade Community and was extensively involved in developing the Pacific Organic Guarantee Scheme and developing alternative forms of certification that empower farmers. Thank you so much for being here today, Karen.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Let's start off with our first question. What is IFOAM Organics International and what type of work does it do?
Sure. So IFOAM Organics International is the global umbrella organization for the organic movement. We're all about making food and farming systems more sustainable, resilient, and also fair. We were founded in 1972, so we're not a baby organization. We've been around for a long time, and we've been working to promote truly sustainable agriculture through advocacy and capacity building, connecting the organic community worldwide. So we support and advocate for policies that help organic farming thrive. We provide training and resources for farmers, and we bring people and organizations together who are working for a healthier food system. And it might be supporting the development of international regulations for a healthier food system. It might be supporting small-scale farmers and their associations, or sharing best practice and innovations. But our goal is to make sure that organic isn't just a potential alternative, but a really tangible one.
How did you become interested in sustainable food and agriculture?
Yeah, that's a bit of a long story, and it's still a source of amusement to my parents, who said they couldn't get me to pull a weed out of a garden when I was growing up. But I think it started, I grew up in Australia, and sort of in my early teens, formative years, there was a lot of environmental activity in Australia. There was a huge protests to protect a forest that was going to be cut down for a dam in Tasmania. The Rainbow Warrior was bombed in Auckland Harbour. So I was quite engaged from an environmental perspective, I guess, initially. That was the start. Then I moved to Samoa, where I really started to see the direct impact of agriculture on the environment. So small islands, it's very, very visible when there is clearing of land for agriculture, when you see the rivers drying up, when you see the loss of biodiversity. At the same time, in Samoa and across the Pacific, actually, we have huge problems with non-communicable diseases, very high rates of diabetes and obesity and heart disease, which are related to the move away from traditional diets and organic diets to highly processed, imported, cheap, low nutrition food. So those sort of things all came together, and I saw the opportunity through organic to make choices for myself that would support my health, but also support everyone in Samoa and ultimately the world to move to a more healthier way of living and growing and producing our food.
What inspired you to co-found the Pacific Organic and Ethical Trade Community, and how did that lead you to the work that you do today for IFOAM?
So as I was working in Samoa, I started working to support NGO capacity building. And I ended up working for an organization called Women in Business Development that had an organic farming program. And initially that program was really focused on trying to export virgin coconut oil that was organically certified as a livelihoods opportunity. But working there and seeing that work, increasingly as an organization, we recognized it's more than just about exporting organic products. It's about what we need to do for ourselves at home, for the food that we eat. At the same time, there was sort of these little organic movements springing up around the Pacific. And often in the Pacific Islands, we work together as a region. We are very united on key topics, and it's important for us as small island states to be able to work together to protect our large oceans as well as our land. So we started to talk to these other groups, and one of the suggestions that came actually from IFOAM back then was to develop a regional organic standard. So we came together to do that, and from that process, all the organic practitioners in the region said, well, we need to continue this collaboration. So we formed the organization that is POETCom today. And that became a member of IFOAM Organics International. And we started to engage then not only in the region, but internationally. And that was how I eventually became involved in IFOAM and elected to the board.
Why is organic farming important for people and our environment?
It's so critical. When you speak to environmental activists, when I speak to my colleagues who work in fisheries, they all say that agriculture is one of the biggest problems they face. So for us in small islands, when we, whatever we do on land ends up on our reefs. So there's that real connection. So, and I think globally, it's the same thing. We are damaging our planet through the way we produce our food. We are damaging our health through the way we produce our food. So we really, if we address that, it's such a huge lever. If we can change the way we produce food, we can help pull back carbon into the soil. We can actually hopefully maintain 1.5. Where we'll start to address some of the really big challenges we have nutrition-wise. You know, obesity is a global epidemic, but so is micronutrient deficiencies. So for many years in many parts of the world, that was less of a problem. Now it is springing up in very unexpected places. And it's all because of the food we eat, and the nutritional value of the food we eat largely comes from the way it's produced. So there's a lot we can do with this lever of changing our farming systems.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the IFOAM regional bodies and the work that they do?
Sure. So organic is growing worldwide. You know, we're a very diverse planet, so it looks a little bit different in different places. And each region has its own unique challenges, but also its unique opportunities. So that's why we have regional bodies, so that they can capitalize on the opportunities at regional level and come together to help address the shared regional needs as well. And they focus on the organic farmers' needs, the businesses and the policymakers in their particular region of the world. So these bodies help shape policies that support organic farming. They run their own programs to train farmers and promote organic markets in their region. And a couple of really good examples. So IFOAM Asia has been leading efforts to grow organic right across Southeast Asia, from India, China, and Philippines. And mostly they do information sharing and exchange learning events to help build capacity and build that understanding of organics across the region. IFOAM Organics Europe works really closely with the policymakers in Brussels to push for strong organic regulations. So they have that very strong market focus to help support their own farmers, and also helping set standards that then are sometimes applied globally. So it's all about ensuring that organic can thrive in different parts of the world, and those needs are specifically met, which can be done when you're sort of closer to the action.
Can you tell me a little bit about the IFOAM Organic Ambassadors?
Our ambassadors are inspiring people from all walks of life. We've got scientists and farmers and chefs and activists who are all passionate about organic and want to spread the word. So their role is really front-facing. It's advocacy for organic agriculture and sustainable food systems in their communities and beyond, sometimes on the international stage. They speak at events, engage with policymakers, help inspire people to choose organic in their daily lives. So it's really about creating a movement of change makers who can amplify the impact of organic farming. One of our ambassadors might be working with youth in Africa to promote agroecology, while another could be doing research in Canada. So they really bring their own expertise and their own lens over organic and a great passion for the cause. It's making organic more than just a way of farming. It's really a way to help us build a global movement for a better future.
What is the organic guarantee system, and why is it important to clearly define what organic farming is and what it is not?
Yeah, really critical question, actually. So we believe that there is one common vision of what organic is, regardless of the slight differences and details of standards and regulations. And that vision, I guess, comes from the 4 principles of organic health, ecology, fairness, and care. But that said, we need certification systems so that consumers have confidence that the product they buy is organic. And so the organic guarantee system of IFOAM Organics International draws the line between what is organic and what is not. It's a package of activities and services for operators across the organic sector to help them meet those standards, and then a way to communicate to consumers that they have met those standards and that those products are trustworthy.
What are some of the challenges related to transitioning to organic practices?
I think the challenges are similar but different across the world. One of the first challenges, of course, is the capability or understanding how to farm organically. In some places, it can be interpreted as doing nothing. It's not doing nothing. It's actively engaging with your farm as an environment to build systems that support production. So I think that capacity building of what organic systems are and how they manage and how they're operated is a really key piece that we need to address to support farmers to transition. Another challenge can be that if you have farmed conventionally for a long time, then your soil is damaged and you've probably lost biodiversity off your farm. So during that transition period to organic, sometimes there can be a loss of productivity because you're no longer putting the chemical fertilizers and inputs on the farm. There might be increased pests because you're not using the pesticides. Until you slowly build your soil over time, get your system right over time, and it all comes back into balance. So that's another challenge. And again, I guess it comes back to the capacity building piece and understanding that process. But commercial farmers also need support during that period, because if they have any loss of income, it's very difficult for a farmer, so we need to find ways to be able to support them through that process as well.
What is organic group certification and how can it benefit farmers?
Group certification is actually sort of one of the ways I started working in organic. So if I use the parts of the less economically developed world, most farmers are very small scale. They might have 1 acre of land or less. So it's very expensive, impossible actually, for them to cover the costs of organic certification on such small scale farms. But if farmers come together as a group and they work in an internal control system, that cost is then spread out over the number of farmers in the group. So it makes it affordable for small scale farmers, particularly in less economically developed countries. So it's a really critical pathway for small farmers. And for things like, coffee, cocoa, which are such valuable exports for much of Africa and parts of the Pacific and other places, it's really important that those systems are supported to give farmers that opportunity and also to make sure that we can get organic products into the markets where there is demand for those products.
What are some of the key outcomes of IFOAM Organics International's work?
The biggest one, I think, is the organic movement itself. I mean, we started back in the 70s with a handful of people coming together in Europe saying we should have a global movement. And now we have a global movement that is providing food across the world. The fact that you can walk into a store and buy a certified organic product stems from the work that IFOAM did in building the initial organic standards. So there's a lot of really sort of big impacts that no one probably thinks about where they started. So they're big for IFOAM Organics International. Another area, which I think is increasingly critical, is we've been able to position organic and agroecological systems, farming systems, as solutions to the global challenges. We've got climate change, we've got biodiversity loss, we've got pollution, plastics. Organic systems can contribute to turning, pushing the dial on all of those things. And we've been able to position that well. There's now discussions around organic in the global processes like the climate talks or the biodiversity COP. So that's a good opportunity for farmers and something that the globe can benefit from as well, supporting those changes that we need in our environment so desperately.
What are some of the most inspiring examples of organic farms that you've seen around the world?
Oh, where to start? I had the privilege of going to Egypt a few years ago, and I visited Secam Farms, which are doing an incredible job greening the desert. I mean, we drove for hours and hours and hours into the desert to come across a farm that had built an ecosystem with trees, to create that sort of like mini ecosystem where other things could grow. It was truly phenomenal. So that was one. I think another one closer to home is in New Caledonia, which really, to me, demonstrated how farmers are scientists in their fields. And this farmer was working on some challenges with pests and diseases and looking at the plants, the other plants in the field, that when he was planting them close to his key crop, the pests would drop. So he was really, his farm was his lab. And it was really inspiring to see how he was able to shift his systems simply by sitting and observing his environment and learning from it. I love that. There's one that I really want to visit and I haven't, in Zanzibar, and it's a small family farm, but they supply for market, but they also have established an ecotourism venture. So they have organic meals and dinners and farm tours, and the farm looks amazingly. I follow them all the time, and it's on my wish list of places to visit.
I read that one of Fiji's islands went 100% organic. How did this come about, and what are some of the key things that can be learned so other places can transition to 100% organic?
Yeah, that's Vivia Island in Fiji. So that came about a bit by accident. We were working with the women's group on this island to develop an organic coconut oil value chain. Much of the Pacific has really strong traditional governance structures, so chiefly systems. So we were working on this island with the women, and it was all going really well. And the chiefs became very interested in what was happening. The principal of the school also became very interested in what was happening. And they recognized the importance of organic for sustainability of their island. So it really came from a decision of the traditional leaders that this was something that they wanted for their community. And, with their support and their request, we worked with the villages on the islands, there's only 5 villages, to build a system to ensure that organic integrity was maintained and they were able to declare themselves as an organic island. There's a little bit of an advantage for some of our Pacific countries or remote islands in that there hasn't been a lot of agrochemical use. So it's not so difficult for them to transition to fully organic practices. The challenge is in some of those places is that the environment is organic by default. It's because it's not actively managed. So when we're working in a situation like that, it's about introducing more active management of the farms to make sure that soil fertility is maintained, that biodiversity is increased. So it was an amazing experience for that to happen. And there's interest in many other countries. Just a couple of weeks ago, the government of Tonga announced that 2 of their islands would be moving to 100% organic. So I think we've got an islands movement around that. I think the lessons are around full engagement from the community. Everyone has to have buy-in for something like that. You also need to be able to plan, in many cases, a slow transition. It doesn't work just to suddenly stop using agrochemical inputs on your farm. It just doesn't work. You've got to have a transition path, and that needs to be built with the farmers, with the communities, with the government who provides any policy support or farm extension officers that provide advice. You've really got to take everyone with you on that journey.
What would you recommend to cities, regions, or countries that would like to set goals related to organic food and agriculture?
First of all, do it. A really good thing to do. I think we've got some great evidence in different places. There was a study in the US several years ago that referred to organic hotspots that showed in areas where there was a higher number of organic farms, there were also lower levels of unemployment, for example. So there's lots of economic spin-offs from making a decision to move towards an organic town, province, state, country. So but again, I think the challenge is, or the first step is getting everybody on board, painting that vision for what it could look like. People look for, our brains are wired to look for challenges. And I think one of the important things is being able to get a vision that is beyond seeing the immediate challenges to what you want to achieve. You build the vision and then you work backwards from there on how to get there. So it is that community consultation process. It's bringing everyone along. It's building the understanding of what organic is, what it means. I think the fact that we have systems that are based on principles is really important because they're not really principles that anyone can debate. It's about understanding then how those principles apply in a farm. That integrated approach is important because if you're building farms, you've also got to build value chains. So engaging governments for public procurement policies, for example, to help create that, supporting development of farmers markets. There's so many pieces. So it's, long-term vision, bring everyone on board, and a solid plan and pathway to get there.
What are your hopes for the future of the organic movement?
I would like to see the organic become conventional, which is, what it used to be. And I think that's where we really need to be moving forward. So it's mainstreamed. It's affordable for everybody. So it's got to be inclusive both at farm level, but also up the value chain to consumers. I would love to be able to walk into any store or any market and know that pretty much everything there is organic. And I'm not talking about organic stores, I'm talking about your regular supermarket chain. So I think that's the way we need to go. I also hope that we continue to build our voice on global platforms. We have massive challenges as a planet to overcome, and we have a strong role to play there as the organic movement. Farmers can make such a huge difference to our environment and to our health. And so supporting them to do that is what we need to do.
Do you have any other ideas or thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, that's always the hardest question when you're chatting to someone, because there's often so many. I'd just like to come back to the principles of organic, I think, because we often get trapped in the standards and what you can do and what you can't do. But coming back to those principles of health, ecology, fairness, and care as the underpinning of not only an organic farm, but an organic lifestyle, I think is really critical, because organic doesn't just speak to the farmers, it speaks to consumers, and we need to be able to speak to everyone in ways where they can understand what organic is, understand the potential, and yeah, make it theirs so they are part of this movement as well.
Thank you so much for joining the podcast today. It's really, really great to hear all about your work and IFOAM and the future of the organic movement. So thank you for the very important work that you do.
Thank you for having me, and I wish you all the best for your podcast. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.